last time. Last time I was doing this starting with a black background, and then acrylic paint can do printing lighter on top of darker. So I was building up each layer by acrylic paint through stencil and getting this full tonality from black to white. That was something I was showing last time, very briefly. And I like to try differently today, which is I like to try from light to dark rather than dark to light. So probably you should come up with a paper size first and image size, and decide the location of the image on the paper. And also on the dedicate one cardboard and make this cardboard chips registration guideline. So the paper can go to the same location each time. Okay? All right. So last time I printed my paper went here, and my stencil went like this to print this layer. And I had bridges. So bridges were actually blank originally, but then I used a paintbrush to go over the bridges. And now it's dry. So I'm going to move to a next layer. Okay. So this time I'm gonna mix something a little bit darker. So this layer of stencil will be removed. I'm gonna move on to a second stencil. Also, I'm just showing this little test print here. This is all acrylic. No, this is a gouache, I guess. And differences between this and this one, I didn't use any white paint. I'm treating gouache almost like a watercolor. This one, I'm treating the gouache almost like acrylic paint by adding white. So it depends on your style. You don't have to, you can use gouache or watercolor, or you can use acrylic paint, okay? All right, so now my paper is slightly smaller or shorter than stencil. Let's go like that. And go like that. And how many people have gouache? All right, so you guys, that's why you guys have a gouache. That's good. Okay, and how many people have a watercolor? Okay, good. So watercolor can be utilized for this. Okay, so gouache is slightly more opaque than watercolor. Watercolor is more transparent. And just I want, whatever you have, just I want you to utilize for this for sure. So I'm just trying to paint here. And when you do that, make sure that stencil is quite intact to the paper. Otherwise, you may get some bleeding. Just I'm using this instead of a screen printing ink like this. And I noticed that, is that gouache become darker when it's dry, or what's the characteristic? I think it's becoming darker as it dries. Which is similar to acrylic paint. And it's a watercolor summer, becomes whiter when it's dry. I can see this one, I just layered darker gray on top of lighter gray. So I'm gonna do the same thing for other papers. Okay, so this one kind of give you idea. This was the first image, and then I overlaid darker on top. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna keep going with another one. Shall I do one more? I don't have to do all these. I have five layers of stencil here, and I don't wanna do all once. I have to wait in between layers until the ink become, paint become totally dry. Okay, so right now this is the second one. And I also noticed that it's good to make enough paint to be mixed before you start to paint. Otherwise, once your paint runs out and then you have to mix again, and then your paint become inconsistent. Okay, let's do one more. Right, I'm using this gray box to be the guide, and I see that it's a little bit shifted. So I wanna make that stencil to be adjusted. All right, so this is just what's going on. You can see what's going on, right? Let's have you guys to design some project with a Pochoir. And if you have some transparent film like a web media film, you can use as a stencil. But also Bristol or any other thick paper can work for stencil cutting.